Welcome back, ladies and gents. Tonight I'm doing a review for the Power of the Primes Wave 2 Deluxes. Finally managed to get a hold of these, so I wanted to waste no time getting a review out there for everyone to see them. Now this is a rather large deluxe wave. It consists of 5 figures, and the 5 of them from left to right are Snarl, Blackwing, Ripper Snapper, Moonracer, and Sledge. So we've got 2 Decepticons, 3 Autobots. It's a really interesting assortment that we have here. We have 2 Dinobots, we have a Terracon, we have one of the Dreadwind duo, and then we have one of the original female characters from the 80s cartoon. So it's a fun wave, a lot of variety to it. So as per my usual MO, we'll look at each one of these guys in their alternate modes, transfer into robot mode, and then toward the end of this, look at their combiner configurations. And with all that said, let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and start this off with Blackwing. Some of you may not know that Blackwing is actually a rebranded name. Blackwing being the new trademark-friendly name for Darkwing, one of the Dreadwing duo. And he is actually a very, very heavy retool of Combiner Wars Air Raid, leaving pretty much the only pieces being the same are the legs and forearms, as far as I can tell. Everything else seems to be pretty different. He's a little unique amongst the deluxes in this line, in that in addition to his little Prime Master armor there, he also has 2 small guns. So that's really neat. My copy, his tail fins here are a bit bent. It just kind of came in the box that way. It's a shame, but it's not that big of a deal. I like the colors that they went with for his Prime Master armor. I like that the little extra filler bit / gun in here is the same color as the rest of it. Just kind of adds some variety to the usual mix there. And yeah, not a whole lot to see here in the vehicle mode. Standard plane. Here he is alongside Dreadwind, his buddy there. And just like the original Power Master toys, these two can actually combine in their vehicle modes to make Dreadwing. These are their configurations for that mode. I just wanted you to see that Blackwing here has this little fold-out peg that is used to plug into the back of the other jet here. And once you get them in there, just kind of bring the wings forward so they're flush. And this is their combined form, Dreadwing. Pretty cool looking. Does a good job of resembling the original toy. The only thing I don't like about this is that it's not very sturdy. It's just that one peg going in that one hole there, so it doesn't hold together tightly at all. So if you're playing with it, it flops around, it rotates. It's not the most stable thing. But considering that they did all this with 2 molds that were previously from, Combiner Wars, a few years old now, they managed to re-engineer them to the point to where they could assume this extra combine mode, this duocon mode as the instructions call it. It's really neat. They didn't have to go so far as to do this, but I'm glad they did. Here's Blackwing's robot mode. As I mentioned before, he has his 2 little handguns there, so that's very cool looking. Gives him a nice bit of symmetry. If you own any of the Combiner Wars aerial bots, there won't be any surprises here as far as the articulation and stuff. I do love the remolded upper arms here. They look really nice. He's got this very wide chest. The fact that his wings stick out to the sides is very different from the aerial bots who all had their wings kind of just fold back. Got a very unique head sculpt. Kind of makes him look like he's got, cat ears or something, but it's pretty neat. So just like Dreadwind, he has a little fold down panel on his chest here that is used to cover up this hole, which is meant to interact with his Prime Master armor. So you can go ahead, plug that bad boy in there. Pretty tight fit. Goes on like so. Out of all the deluxes, he has one of the better looks, I think. You know, when it comes to having the armor attached to his chest, it looks a little more natural. You know, it helps that the colors blend in with his torso so well. And like any of the other deluxes, you know, he can wear it as a chest armor, he can wield the whole thing as a gun, or he can even wield the little filler piece as a small gun. So between that and his two handguns, he has a lot of options for weaponry. Here's a shot of the two Power Masters together for anybody that wants to see that. Here's Blackwing's character card. It's got him kind of flying into action, shooting things, so that's cool. And this is a Solus Prime one, so Solus Blackwing forges twisted machines to torture Autobots. Nice guy. Next up we have Ripper Snapper. This guy's definitely one of the more unique additions to this wave, having this monstrous alt mode, which is some sort of a land shark creature, complete with shark head, shark tail. He's got these Wolverine-like claws here. I love his colors. They're very vibrant. They go together very well. These two little shoulder cannon things do detach, and they can become handguns for his robot mode. And then you can see he stores his Prime Master armor here on his butt. His jaw does move. Interestingly, he actually has these, his elbows are ball joints, which is a little rare for deluxes these days. Usually deluxes have their elbows on hinges, and then with like some sort of bicep swivel. I'm not sure why they decided to be different with this one, but you know, it works well, gives him good articulation. Here's the robot mode. Very, very neat looking Decepticon. I like his head sculpt there. Big goggle-like eyes. Still keeps his claws. And, I don't know, he just really appeals to me. I like his colors, I like his proportions. His little cannons you can keep on his shoulders if you'd like, or you can pull them off. And have him hold them just like regular handheld guns. Ripper Snapper also has a fold down panel on his chest to hide his little 5mm hole for his prime armor. Plugs in there. And just like Blackwing, his looks pretty decent on him. Doesn't look, you know, too terribly out of place, so that's good. Here we have Ripper Snapper's art. I'm not gonna lie, the pose is a little underwhelming. But, yeah, it is what it is. We have another Solus Prime one. He forges weapons with the shredding power of his teeth. Here are our two Decepticons in a combiner configuration. We've got Ripper Snapper down as a leg and Blackwing over there as an arm. I decided to pair Blackwing and Dreadwind with Starscream because, you know, 3 Seeker Jet type guys. Looks good. One thing I like about both of these new figures is that they have some, you know, kind of unique and interesting ways that they enter these limb modes. Ripper Snapper here. Just kind of see how that goes. Kind of just folds up nicely. And for Dreadwind, the bottom half is nothing new because it's all the same parts, but if you look here, you can see he forms this kind of very wide, flat configuration where his arms just kind of fold up against his wings there. So it makes for an interesting silhouette. Moving on to our Autobots, we're going to do Snarl first. Snarl is a Stegosaurus, as you can see. He's kind of got his tail stuck in a dragging position. That's the only way it can go. Doesn't really flex or do anything. Obviously the awkward weapon placement is optional. Unlike the other two deluxe Dinobots that we've reviewed before, he doesn't actually have like some place on the top of his body that this can go. So it just plugs into the little 5mm port there on his thigh, and you'll see that Sledge does the same thing. So I don't know. Doesn't seem as doesn't feel as sturdy. You know, seems like it's more of an afterthought than anything. In this mode, Snarl doesn't have a lot of articulation. You know, his legs can kind of move back and forth, and that's it, really. Like, mouth doesn't move, head doesn't really move around. These spikes on his back can flip down, so that you can place some Prime Masters or Titan Masters on there. So, quite cool that they added that in there. Here's Snarl's robot mode. He stands as a pretty imposing figure. He's got his nice little shoulder crests that are formed from the dinosaur tail there. Has this nice clear sword, which, for anyone curious, is not the same sword as Swoop's. It's an entirely new piece. You know, he's got his armor here, wielded as a gun, or you can attach it to his chest there via the hole. And yeah, this is one of, in my opinion, the better looking Dinobots for their robot mode. Kind of makes up for the almost absolute lack of articulation in his dinosaur mode. I like his proportions. He feels, you know, fairly tall. I like the tampograph details on his chest, on his legs here. And you can just kind of tell there was a lot of thought put into this guy. Head sculpt is excellent. Here's a character card for Snarl. Just shooting some lasers out his mouth. Got his tail raised in the air. Looking pretty cool. And this is it's actually an Onyx Prime card. It's fitting, huh? Onyx Snarl. Harnesses brute force to challenge any opponent. That's a little underwhelming. We'll move right along to Sledge now. Kind of suffers the same issue as Snarl in that his dino mode lacks pretty much any articulation at all, aside from hind legs swinging back and forth, forelegs swinging back and forth, bending at the elbow there. Obviously, optional weapon storage. So he looks good. In my opinion, he comes out looking a little bit better than Snarl in his dino mode. His lower jaw here looks like it should be able to, you know, swing open and shut, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Even though it's a separate piece, it doesn't seem to be built to actually swing at all. Or if it is, I'm just having no luck getting his mouth to actually open. And I'm kind of afraid to force it too much. So if anyone out there has this figure and they have managed to get his mouth to move, let me know. Till then, I'm going to be a little too afraid to try to pry it open. Yeah, he mixes up a little bit with, you know, instead of just having the clear with gold underneath, it's got a lot of clear with silver underneath too. A lot more so than any of the other Dinobots. Tampograph here on his back. It looks good. Got the robot mode here. It's got his little flat, you know, helmet looking head sculpt going on. I dig it. His gun here is actually the exact same gun used by Slug from the first wave. You can actually tell that he reuses a decent number of Slug's parts. I don't know if you'd call it a retool per se, or just heavy part sharing. Dino head folds up pretty neatly against his back there. And yeah. Not my favorite Dinobot design, but that doesn't really come down to the figure itself. Just Slug's robot mode never really was my favorite design. And unlike Snarl, he actually comes off looking smaller than he should. And it's probably due to the fact that he turns into this, you know, Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, which is supposed to be a very large dinosaur, but he's the same size as all the other deluxe Dinobots. But, you know, it doesn't make him a bad figure by any means, but makes his scaling a little odd. Here's Sledge's character card. It's got him in his dino mode. Shooting some sort of laser or fire out of his mouth there. We have an Alpha Trion Sledge. He writes several million pages on the virtues of stomping. I like that. Okay, last up for the Autobots, we have Moonracer. Which looks like toothpaste. Both in color and, you know, shape of the tube there. So yeah, she's this very low riding and long vehicle. And the appearance of that is extended even further by having her prime armor attached where it is. She's got a gun, which you can store on the side here. Nothing breathtaking about this vehicle mode, aside from maybe its rather unique profile. And I don't know, it's just kind of a breath of fresh air. It's something different, something that doesn't look very much like Transformers we've gotten in recent years. One thing I will say I'm not a fan of is the obvious hands showing in the back here. There's nothing you can really do about that, which is a shame. You know, I feel like her vehicle mode could be a bit stronger, but it is fun to look at. It's got a lot of translucent blue, and I like that shade that they use there. Nice painted detail here on the front. Here's Moonracer's robot mode. Her gun is, you know, fun looking, looks like some sort of a sniper rifle. She has a lot of ball jointed articulation, even in the elbows, just like Whippersnapper did. She has a very large backpack, and I know a lot of people complained about it when they saw it. And it does seem pretty comically large, and it does make her pretty back heavy, so you have to be careful how you position her feet and, you know, her ankles and everything. Speaking of her ankles, they do tilt forward and backwards, and they have a somewhat, you know, small amount of sideways ankle tilt there, so it's better than nothing. She's got a very nice head sculpt, which is based directly off of how she looked in the original 80s cartoon there. One thing that worries me about this figure a little bit is the fact that her feet are made of these clear plastic pieces that form, you know, the windshield there. Which, you know, clear plastic, it's very fragile, especially as it gets older, and these form the bottom of her feet, so they're going to be under more force than pretty much any other part of her. So looking at her prime armor connection, this one does not connect through a 5mm peg, but actually has the thumb bits connect on her sides here, side of her chest plate. Yes, gotta kind of play with it a little bit, get it nice and straight as you can, and that's what that looks like. And in my opinion, this just does not look nearly as good as, you know, some of the other figures have it. Looks like she's wearing a backpack on the front too, just looks odd. I think, you know, when I display her, she's definitely going to be holding this thing and not wearing it on the front. It's too low. You know, it's already like kind of halfway down her chest there. Just looks weird. But, you know, overall with this figure, I'm a fan of it. I feel like it's not the best job they could have done ever, especially when it comes to the hands sticking out of the vehicle mode and the giant backpack in a robot mode. But I am really happy that they made this. She's got, you know, a pretty unique color scheme. You don't see this mint greenish color that she has. It's good to get, you know, more female Transformers in the ranks there, and it's cool to finally get a toy of, you know, such an old character. This figure will be retooled into Novastar, which is a new trademark name for Firestar, one of the other original female Transformers. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming in Wave 4, and apparently is the only new figure in Wave 4. So that'll be interesting. Here's Moonracer's character card. And seem to have embellished her a little bit, you know. Decided to hide all that ugly backpack there. Well, what can you do? Alright, she's got the Quintus Prime affiliation, so she fills the metal of dead worlds with life-giving energon. That's nice of her. And now we have our new Autobots combined with Alita 1 with the Jazz lending support again. So you can see our two Dinobots down here. Now, something interesting about these leg modes is that they're kind of two different configurations that have been shown and popularized. With Sledge here, this is the way the instructions have his head, with it, bent 180 at the neck to where his head is upright. But a lot of artwork and pictures have actually had it facing down like that. Which is actually the real configuration, I don't know. Personally, I prefer the way the instructions do it, so I'm going to stick with that. And then I've also seen Snarl's tail in different configurations. This is the official one per the instructions, but some photos have had it like that. And I think that's just a mistransformation. It looks kind of odd, and these could definitely get in the way of some movement. So again, I'm just gonna stick with how the instructions have it. Now I want to draw some attention to Moonracer's arm mode here. She's kind of unique so far in that she kind of has this sleeve bit that covers the bicep part of her arm, which makes it look a little thicker, a little more stable than the usual just, two legs, see through the middle, very thin looking, that virtually all of the Combiner Wars style figures have. So this is kind of an interesting new take on an arm mode. Makes it look thicker, more fleshed out. Makes it look more like an actual arm. And I just like the way she looks. I like how well her hand matches up to the rest of the arm there. And overall, I'm quite pleased with the way these turned out. And there you have it. The entire second deluxe wave from Power of the Primes. Like I said in the beginning, this has been an interesting wave. A lot of variety in the figures. Dinosaurs, monsters, jets, race cars. It was a good wave. They're still really hard to find right now. They were popping up in Walmarts in like the western and middle parts of the country, then just kind of seemingly died off. Never seemed to make their way out here to the East Coast. I was able to find some at a local collector's shop, so paid a little extra for them, but it was better than checking Walmart inventories every day until God knows when. So yeah, these toys, each one of them brings something kind of new and interesting to the table, even ones that are retools of previous figures. For anyone worried that they didn't get to see all of the Dinobots together or see the complete Volcanicus, fear not. I am going to give the Dinobots and Volcanicus their own dedicated video to follow up on this one, so look out for that. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about these. Highly recommend every one of them. Moonracer, overall, probably the weakest figure as far as, design, but she's also very cool and very unique at the same time, so I still recommend picking her up. As always, down below, let me know what you think of these figures, what you thought of the review itself. Always love hearing from you guys. And now that I have all that out of the way, I will see you all next time.